Today we're going to be showcasing the Defend the Galaxy event. This is part 1 of taking the Imperial City, baby. So let's get started. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in this video, sponsored by the makers of Infinite Galaxy, we are going to be doing the first part of the events where you go and you take the Imperial City, the very center, premier objective in the map. I mean, this is the thing that everybody is hunting for. There's a bunch of bonuses. We've talked about that a little bit in a previous video. But here, we're going to be showcasing the battling that takes place in order to be even in the qualification for taking the Imperial City. Now, the Imperial City capture has 2 phases. This is the first phase. The first phase is where you are battling things out to see which alliances are going to be the top 4. Which alliances are the top 4 by points in order to determine who can even contest the center, the Imperial City. Now, there are 4 different systems that are available for contention. Each one has 3 different defense arrays that you need to knock down, and then 1 primary objective, that is the Imperial Guard City. So we're now going in and taking out those side objectives, those defense arrays, and also taking out the fleets that are in the area that are there to wreck you. Now, I'll be honest, if at this point your nebula hasn't sort of sorted out who the top 4 contenders would be, there certainly could be fighting over this portion with other alliances. It would sort of surprise me, but it's possible. So you got to be on the lookout for that, but I would assume most nebulas have things sorted out to 4 premium or I guess primary alliances. They're going to battle for these different cities. Each of them will have picked a different city that they're going to go for. They go and they do that, and this should be primarily a player versus environment, a PvE encounter, which was our experience, certainly. So for this portion of the event, we're knocking out those defense arrays. They're pretty tough. If necessary, you got to bring refreshes of your fleets. We teleported all of our cities right on the outskirts of this zone, so it's very easy for us to go and do that. And you can see those defense arrays have a lot of power. I mean, even when it's down to halfway, it's still about 80 million power, so it started at around 160 million. I don't know if this will get tougher over time, or honestly, it doesn't get any tougher, and in the big picture, things will get easier and easier as we get more and more powerful. And that Imperial Guard City has a cool 525 million power. Yeah, you better be planning for some really steep repair bills. My strong recommendation is that if you're a free-to-play player or very low spender, that you focus on something like the Brontis, which gives you a great way to kind of activate a unit that hangs back and is going to have relatively lower repair costs when compared to frigates, which are going to be just the very first thing to get demolished. And even these Imperial fleets are not small. You can see there's a ton of fights going on the screen. There's a ton of people going basically everywhere. I've got 2 proper combat fleets that I'm using here. My other 2 are gathering because, I mean, look, like I got some really low-level destroyers. They're just good for gathering, okay? So we've got those 2 fleets running back and forth. We're taking these things out. We've got, at this point, I think 2 of those defense arrays down. Then we're going to have to take out the 3rd. So there we go. 2 of them are down. We didn't even have to garrison these. We didn't have to defend these. There were no other fleets that came to try to knock them out over the duration of this event. There are some individual rewards that you can get as you go your way through this event. And you can see, wow, that defense center actually, it looks like it starts with 250 million. 250 million power. That is a lot of power to work through, and yeah, I remember these repair bills being pretty significant. Again, this footage is at 2x speed. I wanted to show for you pretty much everything that happens, so you can see it for your own eyes, because I sort of wish I had something like this to get a look at and understand like exactly how these events unfold, especially, oh, you are not going to want to miss the next part, the tug of war. Ooh, it is so savage, but we'll cover that in the next video, okay? So we're still taking out these defense centers. You can see this takes a while. You can see that a big part of this game is obviously teamwork. you need to have a team that really works together. And you got to have a lot of players, and the more people that show up, the easier this will be. So now, boom, the next defense center is getting hit. We're going to have to position by the guard city pretty soon. People are going to pile in there. We're up to 40 million, battling into 180 still. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. And, obviously, being in voice makes this a lot easier of a task. We had most players in voice. We tried to also use the markers to show where people should or shouldn't be. And it's really tough because if one person incorrectly attacks the guard city, for example, people who are not in voice, they all just pile in and think, oh, I must be supposed to attack the guard city now. And the more people that pile in, the worse that it gets, because there's even more people seeing that happen, thinking, oh, I'm in the wrong place. I need to go charge into that too. It's kind of a disaster. So being in voice is immensely helpful. We had pretty much, anybody who was available was encouraged to be in voice, which I think goes a long way. I'm pretty sure from our alliance alone, we had probably 25 or 30 people in voice, if I'm being honest. But, we've got a large family of alliances, and each of those alliances had people in voice as well. Here we're taking out the final defense array, it looks like. Finally. The final defense array. We knock this thing down. It's going to take a minute. Looks like we've got, 30 million, 33 million, battling into 200. It's a little rough. It's a little rough. More folks arriving. This is why you really needed to teleport nearby. Teleporting nearby just makes it so much easier to refresh your fleets, get back in the action, and speed this up. Now, you may be wondering, why do you want to speed this up? In this event, it is only the top 4 alliances by points that will be able to participate in the next phase. So to be in the top 4 alliances by points, you have to capture and hold these structures, which give a lot of points. There's initial capture points and also points over time, if I'm remembering correctly. So you want to get that initial capture. You also want to do this over time. Also, if I'm remembering correctly, this is actually maybe the most important thing. These defense arrays heal. If you don't knock these out fast, they start to heal, which is massively problematic. And it's like 1,000,000 power a second these things are healing. So you got to charge in fast. So we knock, there it is, the final defense array knocked down. Now it's time to take the main Imperial Guard city. Okay, you can see my hospital here, 11 hours. It's actually not so bad in the grand scheme of things. It's almost entirely frigates. You can see that there, right? The frigates just get freaking trounced. Somebody hit the guard city. I was like, F it, let's go. Hit that guard city, baby. We're going to pour in and hit this thing, I want to say at least 3 times to get the job done. 525 million power, and you saw we were mustering about 40 million power at a time. Yeah, this is going to be rough. First attempt, we took 75 million power off of this. That's pretty bad. Next attempt, we'll do better, and then we'll do better, and we'll do better. I bring a fleet back, and these folks that hit this thing at the wrong time. It creates so many problems because people join because they're not in voice. And then, yeah, oof. Strong recommendation to be in voice. They are going to make some progress against this thing, but, not as much as they would make otherwise. It is also kind of crazy just to see the number of markers where fleets are going. It is pretty wild. That is a lot of fleets. So we let those folks, unfortunately, kind of lose their fleets because we weren't ready to hit it. Somebody else hits it. Oof. I think we got to let them lose their fleet, but more people pile in. This is exactly the phenomena I was describing, so I'm glad you get to kind of see. And I'm sure every alliance experiences some flavor of this, right? Everybody gets some flavor of that experience. And now we get into position. We get some more people in. I think on voice, I did a countdown from 10 just to really make sure everybody's on the same page about when you're supposed to charge into this. All right, so we're accumulating. I'll skip to when we're all together here. Okay, now we've got that countdown going. I'm deciding, am I going to use frigates or cruisers? I use the cruisers. Boom! Now we chunk in, and this is why you got to go as a group. We're chunking up to 50 million now, 52, 56. I mean, it just makes such a huge difference. The more reasonable your power is relative to the opponent that you're battling, you know, the more you have, the easier it goes. And, oh, man. I mean, we still only took like 60 million power off of this thing at this point. It's down to 420 million power. We're going to have another fleet nearby and probably smash into this thing again. And if you're being really efficient here, I mean, you just go like main fleets hit, secondary fleets hit, main fleets hit, secondary fleets hit, because time is certainly of the essence. So now it's down to about 400 million power. We're regrouping, and I'll cut to when we're grouped up. Okay, I've got my fleet targeted, and here we go! Send in the frigates. This will be a nice repair bill. Started at 400 million for the opposing side. We're up to about 50 mil. It's just hard to even accumulate beyond that because we're taking so much damage so quickly here. And I'm quite confident that 6 months from now, this is going to be such a joke compared to how it's going now. We'll have so much more power, so many more players that are able to be in the alliance because our alliance is more powerful. We'll have teched up the alliance. And there's so much that can contribute to this being easier. It's now down over 100 million power for the defense, however, which is good. I might decide to speed up my hospital here just to make sure that I have what I need, but also that I don't overflow. Looks like we're probably fine, though, on that overflowing front. Another 100 frigates in the hospital, and I just send it right back out. And we'll do this all over again. Okay, here we go. The next attempt on the Imperial City. It's at 300 million power still. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got 40 million sustained in our attack on this thing now. 45 or so. Yeah, I think we're going to have to do another run after this one to get the job done. It's down to 220 million. That's not so bad. I checked to see if our flagships are taking damage. For what it's worth, they did not, even though we were losing these fights. We're up to 25 mil at this point. They're at 177. They're at 175. I mean, it's going down. We're doing a lot better here. And pretty soon, if not this attempt, then on the next attempt, I think we'll get this job done. Overall, I think that the key to this event is just having lots of players online. And you will have to defend these if other players are going to try to sneak around and take them. And there's probably going to be warships that die if you end up having to defend one of these objectives against another player. In these attacks, you don't permanently lose power. Thank goodness for that, because we would have lost just a ridiculous amount of power. It wouldn't even be worth taking the Imperial City, battling into these odds, I'll be honest. However, now things are going pretty well. We seem to be stabilized around 20 million or so power, which is good. More players arrive about as fast as we're losing those warships. And as soon as I say that, we chunk down to about 5 million. Okay. So it looks like we've probably got one more swing on this thing to get the job done. And then we'll get the capture points and also the points per minute for actually having occupied it. You only need to be in the top 4 for your alliance. It doesn't matter if you're 4th or 1st. It's all equal footing for the next portion of this event. So now we go, we smash this thing, and you don't really need to garrison it, again, unless you think some other player is going to come and take it out. I peeked into the cinematic view. Thought that might look kind of cool. Looks all right. Looks all right. The city's down to less than 50 million, finally. Our rally, or I guess our attack, is just about 60 million. There we go, 65. Nice. It just gets so much easier when you're not massively outnumbered. And I guess we could launch a rally on this thing if we wanted, but I don't think we could get as many fleets into the action if we'd done a rally. I think this is the right way to do it. Although, leave a comment down below if there's something else we should have thought about. There you go. The capture is finally here. From start to finish, this is exactly how we did the first portion of the events to go and take the center, the Imperial City. If you found this helpful, do me a favor, throw a like on here, consider subscribing for Infinite Galaxy videos designed to help you get value and smash your enemies. And until next time, you have fun smashing your nebula.